Real customer reviews of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears Part 2. Performed exactly as advertised. To preface this, I will state that it is not good to upset anyone in the military supply network. This is especially true for a supply NCO, non-commissioned officer, who can be both creative and vindictive to those who earn his ire. One of my biggest pet peeves was troopies who walked into my supply room and decided to go through things on my counter or desk. It is for this reason that I purchased 2 bags of these sweet little revenge snacks. I briefed my minions that morning that the snacks were to be unsullied by the hands. I told them that I would know and it would not go unpunished by both myself and the higher powers. They thought I was joking, but decided to not test my authority before my eyes. With that said, I placed the bowl on the back part of the counter just in reach of anyone loitering inside my supply room. The rules were posted for all to see when they came in. So, they were warned. A large sign that said, "If you touch my stuff, you will be punished." They decided to test me, I guess. On this weekend, we were set to do general cleaning and maintenance within the battalion. So, my desk was rather busy. I was in and out of my office all day. However, I made sure to take general measurements of my bowl of horror every time I came back. Shortly before lunch, my unholy wrath began to strike. My supply room is 1 door down from the latrines and the row of mail commodes is on the other side of the wall from my desk. It was the first, but was not the last. It was initially heralded by the sound of Gabriel's trumpet escaping the sphincter of one poor soul. He hit the latrine and sounded as if he kicked the stall door open. For the next 30 minutes, I listened to the sounds of a live humpback whale being butchered by a blind man wielding a chainsaw. It was not long before another troop, this time a female, made her way to the latrine. She came from the indoor pistol range and had to cross in front of my door. I saw a pale woman with sweat streaking down her face. She was hobbling with one hand on the wall for support and the other on her stomach, praying for just a little more time. For lunch, I ripped into an MRE, the Army brown bag lunch, and listened to the ever-growing chorus of those who had so far snuck down half of my bowl of brightly colored improvy. Explosive devices. I was not sure if the other side of the building was seeing the same activity in the latrines, but the smell reached my door by the end of lunch. Good thing I was stationed with an infantry unit for the first 4 years of my career, so I was accustomed to bad odors. One of my minions did not return from lunch, so I volunteered another to perform a possibly suicidal scouting mission into the male latrine in search of my wayward soul. He was there and had been since the beginning of lunch. By 15:03 p.m., I was told that the unit was being locked down and there was an emergency meeting in the battalion briefing room. I had a suspicion of the reason, but attended as I was ordered to do so. By this time, my bowl of gelatinous bowel howitzer ammunition was 1/4 filled. The meeting began slightly off schedule. At 15:22, the sergeant major walked into the room and looked as if he had just performed a 3-day combat operation without sleep. The battalion XO walked in not long after and looked as if he had been intimately assaulted by a rather insistent horse. I used all of my military bearing to keep from cracking a joke about cavalry officers walking bow-legged. The battalion surgeon walked in and told us that there was a high chance that the unit had come in contact with a strange stomach bug. Roughly half of the battalion was complaining of stomach cramps and explosive diarrhea. It seemed to mostly be affecting HHC, the headquarters, and SECO, the company that was on the same side of the building as us, also the medics. Until symptoms cleared up, the unit was in lockdown and cleaning mode. I went back to my supply room with the intent to bag up the remaining evidence of my involvement, only to find that the bowl was missing. My minions were too wrapped up to notice anything, though. So, I began a search for the evidence that would probably land me in front of a firing squad. The empty bowl was located in the admin offices. Someone found it and decided to liberate it from my supply room for the only group that I didn't want to upset. But, they had already consumed the remainder of the biological weapons. As I left with the bowl, I heard the familiar sound of incoming fire from the senior pay clerk's desk, followed shortly after by what sounded like Lamar's breathing. That weekend, the entire building was cleaned from one side to the other. MIEs were consumed in the hopes of plugging the torrential flood of liquid terror, and every door and window was opened with fans going over a cup of Pine-Sol in every room. 3/4 of the enlisted and half of the officers were hit with the mystery stomach bug, and the medical supply room was in desperate need of more IV kits. I don't know if my message got across, but it was definitely an entertaining weekend. 5 stars. It worked like a charm. Bought these after reading the reviews and decided to prank my cousin. It worked like a charm. After eating handfuls, he was on the toilet for days. He continued to eat them, not knowing they were the cause of his explosive diarrhea. Only when he finished the bag did I decide to reveal my secret. 5 stars. A delicious treat that should be enjoyed only after the following preparations have been made. 1. Make sure it's Friday and cancel all weekend plans. For good measure, go ahead and call in for Monday. 2. Call the city and make sure your water bill is paid in full. 3. Visit your local hardware store and purchase a sink attachment for your garden hose, as toilet paper will quickly become too painful to bear. 4. Give advance notice to family members, roommates and neighbors unless you're keen on trying to give birth to a crushed watermelon while convincing your local SWAT team that both the screaming and demonic noises are from you, and that a dynamic entry would only bring about more needless suffering. 5. Redo your restroom in motivational pictures, ones with slogans like "Courage is fear" hanging on 1 minute longer, "The only easy day was yesterday," etc. I also advise posting up the suicide prevention hotline number, or having a dedicated friend or other support group to walk you through the low Tim. Lastly, I must strongly urge you to consider why you are thinking of buying this product. Is it a sense of deep self-loathing? A reckless sense of adventure? Are you researching dysentery? Perhaps you are the drill sergeant of some extreme commando unit seeking to break down the enemy's will to fight by airdropping these into the midst. If you are just curious, then let me say, oh fellow human, beware, for this life is dangerous enough. Next time I want to thrill, I'll skydive without a parachute. That way at least I will have a chance. 5 stars. Help me. Help me. 5 stars.